All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, messiest problems in enterprise AI. And spoiler alert, it's not about the AI models. It's about the chaotic human world they have to live in. We're going to explore a totally new way of thinking about this, a product-focused approach designed to finally solve it.
You've probably heard this story before, right? It's a classic. NASA, with all its brainpower and budget, faced a simple problem. How do astronauts write in space? So they went and engineered this incredible, high-tech pressurized pen. Meanwhile, the Soviets, facing the exact same problem, had a much simpler idea. They just used a pencil.
And that story, it's the perfect metaphor for what's happening in enterprise AI right now. We are all pouring millions into building these incredibly complex space pens. More powerful models, fancier retrieval systems, you name it. But what if we're solving the wrong problem? What if the real bottleneck isn't the machine at all? What if what we really need is a simple, elegant pencil for the human who's supposed to be guiding the AI?
And that question gets us right to the heart of the matter, what you could call the AI context crisis. It's this massive, growing gap between what AI agents can do and what our organizations can actually support. Let me show you what I mean with a scenario that might feel a little too real.
So imagine your company rolls out a shiny new AI support agent, and it's working great. It handles, say, 80% of the questions perfectly. But then a customer asks about a very specific discount. The agent, full of confidence, gives them the wrong price. Why? Well, it turns out the rule for that discount was buried in some obscure configuration file written by an engineer who left the company 2 years ago. Nobody even remembered it existed. See, the failure wasn't in the AI's logic. It was in its understanding of the world. Its context was broken.
And right there, you see the massive disconnect. On one side, the AI agent needs to somehow swallow this whole chaotic universe of information, dense regulations, ancient legacy code, weird unwritten rules we call tribal knowledge. But on the other side, the human who's supposed to be in the loop, they need the exact opposite. They need clarity, they need governance, they need a single manageable picture of what's going on. These two needs are pulling in completely different directions. And that crucial context, that knowledge, is hiding everywhere. It's not sitting in some nice, neat database. No way. The real business rules are embedded in config files. They're buried in 50-page legal documents. They're hard-coded into systems nobody has dared to touch in a decade. They're in outdated wikis and, yeah, even in the email chains of people who retired last year. None of this stuff was ever meant to connect.
You know, the AI visionary Andrej Karpathy absolutely nailed it when he said this. He said that for any business, taking all that raw, messy stuff and actually compiling it, that's the real product. And he's spot on. But for a big enterprise, this problem isn't just a little bigger, it's exponentially more complex. It demands a serious layer of human governance.
In the numbers, they back this up completely. A recent Salona survey is pretty eye-opening. You've got 85% of leaders saying they want their companies to be fully agentic, run by AI agents. But at the same time, a whopping 76% admit their operations just can't handle it. The problem isn't the tech, it's the silos, the broken processes. You can't just bolt a fancy AI onto a dysfunctional system. So it all comes back to this. We've been obsessed with building a better, more complicated space pen for the machine. But the real breakthrough, the real game changer, is about building a simple, powerful pencil for the human. A tool that makes all this complexity actually make sense. And that pencil? Well, that's what we're calling the organizational digital twin. But I want to be really clear. This is not just another piece of software you go out and buy. It's a completely new philosophy. It's a new way for an organization to understand itself. The amazing thing is, you don't install the twin like a top-down mandate. It actually emerges organically from the work people are already doing. It starts small. Each team models its own little part of the world, builds what we call discovery skills to scan its assets, and then all that knowledge gets normalized to a common standard. As more teams join in, the picture gets clearer and clearer. The twin literally sharpens into focus from the inside out.
Now, the secret sauce that makes this all possible is a standard called FOX. Think of it like a universal translator for your business. It can take any piece of knowledge, whether it's code, a legal doc, a process map, anything, and it compiles it into a standard, human-readable unit called a skill node. It's like turning all your company's messy knowledge into clean, structured data.
Okay, let's make this real. Here's a pricing rule that used to be buried in 200 lines of Python code, totally invisible to the business. Using Fox, it gets translated into this. A clean, simple skill node. It's got a name, a description in plain English, and even the rationale, the why behind the rule. All of a sudden, a business rule that was locked away in code is now completely understandable and owned by the commercial team.
And this isn't just for code. Look at this. It takes a dense 4-page section of a GDPR regulation and turns it into this actionable skill node. The obligation is crystal clear, the rationale points right to the law, and it assigns ownership to the legal team. The complex vocabulary of the original document just disappears, and what's left is pure, portable, powerful meaning.
So, we've taken all this scattered knowledge, and we've normalized it into a common language. That's a huge step. But what does that actually look like? How does this make all that complexity something you can actually navigate?
And here it is. We call it the mind map. This is a living, breathing, interactive blueprint of how your organization actually works. This isn't some static chart that's outdated the second you print it. It's a dynamic map where you can see how every single piece of knowledge connects to everything else. This is the pencil we've been talking about, the simple, human-centric tool that lets you see the same world the AI sees.
Which brings us to the most critical part of this whole conversation. Okay, this is cool tech, but why does it actually matter? What's the real impact of putting the human first in this new age of AI?
Well, the real power here is in perspective. Imagine this. Everyone in the company is looking at the exact same single source of truth, this knowledge graph, but they each see it through a lens that's tailored to their job. So the compliance officer sees a map of regulations and their impact. The product manager sees a map of features and their dependencies. The engineer sees a map of APIs. Everybody gets the signal that matters to them without any of the noise.
This whole idea leads to what we call the fair play insight, and this is huge. Think about it. An AI agent can absorb every document, every line of code, every process in your entire company in an instant. A human brain just can't do that. So to have a real, fair partnership to guide that agent effectively, the human needs a map of that same knowledge that their brain can actually process. This creates a level playing field. It enables true human-AI collaboration.
And when you have that, it completely transforms how you operate. Think about how big decisions get made now. It's kind of a context lottery, right? A bunch of long meetings, people working off incomplete data, and success basically depends on who happens to be in the room that day. With the Twin, you move from that lottery to simulation. You can propose a change, say, to your pricing, and immediately every single dependency lights up. Compliance rules, API contracts, marketing materials, everything. You can finally make decisions with total situational awareness.
And finally, this approach brings something into the light that's always been there, hiding in the shadows. We call it the drift. The drift is that gap between what your official processes say you do and what your systems and your people actually do. For the first time, the Twin makes that gap visible. And instead of being a flaw you have to hide, it becomes an incredible source of intelligence. It shows you exactly where your organization is learning and adapting on its own.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. As we're all racing to build these incredibly powerful AIs, maybe the biggest risk isn't what the AI knows or what it might do on its own. Maybe the real risk is that it will build a perspective of our own companies that is so rich and complex that we, the humans who are supposed to be in charge, can no longer understand it. And maybe, just maybe, the most important tool we can build right now isn't for the AI, but for ourselves.